one.
9 secondes, il y a encore du temps. Le Canadien la rondelle, va dans le cercle gauche. Le tir appuyé de Caulfield, c'est raté. Cercle gauche encore, Suzuki transversal. Tir de Caulfield, goal! Goal! Caulfield! Et c'est 4-4! Wow!
Welcome back to another edition of the Habs Brunch, your Sunday rendezvous with your hockey coach, Guru Coach Francis Reckley for the beautiful country of Thailand. And we have to go all the way to Ottawa to get our co-host, Mr. Marko Larabi is back in the house on the beautiful Sunday morning.
Beautiful Sunday morning. I could hear that call from Ottawa, Coach. Oh my God. Goal! Just magical stuff, man. 1.9 seconds. It took me like an hour for my pulse to kind of regulate after that. So very exciting stuff. Really excited for this Sunday.
It was great to see that. I get excited on the mic. I joined the goal by
I heard
myself too.
There were people that were concerned about your cardiovascular health as a result of that. But
it's fun. It's fun. The Montreal Canadiens whatsoever. They have a great weeks. They have a good. They are entertaining this year, and it's fun to watching for sure. But look, we have a special week again. We are back between the inside the boat, the booth this week. We're going to review week number 6. We have a very special duel today because we have a special guest again. Preview week number 7 already. This is episode number 11, by the way, Mr. Marko. Wow. And the time flying honestly. And then next week, guys, we want to mention to you, it's going to be the first report card, Mr. Marko, of the team. So we're going to do a special ad branch report card, like a homework to get for each player. So many of you guys are going to give us a report card. We're going to show to the people here the ad branch. But maybe I want to talk more a little bit fun things, Marko, before we introduce our special guest today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, listen, just wanted to take an opportunity. November is Hockey Fights Cancer Month. I think all of us have been watching all the different games. All the different teams are doing really great stuff. Last night, even just in our own market, it was really touching to watch Caulfield in particular. After, like, there was the great ceremony. By the way, they need they need to bring a carpet for those kids. I was nervous the whole time when the kids were just walking out, and it's great that the players are
wrong. I could be wrong, Marko. I think there was skate. They are walking with a little piece under their shoes.
I hope so, man. Because I was anxious the whole time. It was very touching, but I was very anxious. But
because if you watch it, nobody slipped at any moment. Like
some of the kids, they looked like they were wobbling. I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure they put a lot of thought into it, but it just made me nervous. So
yeah, I understand you.
Yeah, very beautiful ceremony. And then I don't know if everybody saw, but Caulfield took time to kind of spend with kids, and not only do we have really exciting players on our team right now in terms of their production and what they do, we just have really good people. Like Cole Caulfield is just a good person. Nick Suzuki is just a good person. Joel Edmondson is a good person, right? So just really great. So hoping everybody takes the time. We're thinking of everyone, myself included. Lost people to cancer. So really, it's great that hockey, kind of uses their platform to do that. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is today, for this is a hockey channel and a Habs channel, but World Cup today, Coach. Like, I know you don't like baseball, but are you a soccer guy? Like, World Cup is pretty exciting.
Not at all about that. The only thing I know, Canada is inside of this World Cup. And the second thing I know, because I read, before I come here at the show this morning, I read usually it's always been during the summer. And the reason they are play right now in November, December is because the weather in Qatar is so hot and they cannot.
They would die. They would die playing soccer in the middle of the desert there. So, but really exciting. Like, it should be fun to follow. My wife loves it when I watch soccer because like they have those horns that sound, and it's all in the background, so that's all she can hear, and it grates on her nerves. So I'm looking forward to bringing that in my house for the next several weeks.
But I have the music called Ole Ole Ole, so maybe I can play that one over there. Yeah, and then they're talking about the World Cup. Why not to wish an amazing, great trip to Michael Di Villano, one of their panelists with us, is going to be there for a couple of days, a week is with his wife. Wife is really well known and it's one biggest company around the world. So that's the reason she's over there. So he joined her over there. So great experience to go. I think you have some fun events. Maybe one day we can talk about this. What kind of what kind of event you would like to assist? You never been like maybe the master at the golf or the World Cup or the tennis. I think it would be a great subject, at least a great subject on the summertime about that one there. But yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see that. Finally, we want to invite everybody. Don't forget to click on the likes and subscribe to the Hockey Nation Live show. Definitely leave us some comments. You just want to remind everybody we have a new show every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock p.m. It's called the Roundtable. We talk about hockey. So it could be Montreal Canadiens, but everything going around the league. And then we have always special guests this week. Randy Walkman is going to join us. Sometime Marko is there, Enortap, Michael DeVillano, and we're going to bring every special guest. So every Wednesday night, possibility not this week because we have a hockey game at Montreal Canadiens this week, but usually it is. And the reason is this happening, Marko, is Thursday is a Thanksgiving. So all our peer in the USA, we wish them an amazing, great, happy weeks of Thanksgiving, of course. And that's the reason they have 15 game Wednesday, 0 game Thursday, because you have 3 games from NFL. It's time to eat some turkey. And we have a special show Thursday night, Mr. Marko. Maybe you can join us for the second edition of the Turkey Awards of the Hockey Nation show.
Okay. I don't think I've heard of that one.
So yeah, it's a very special. Jeff Petrie was the winner last year with the New York Calendars.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Is that why you guys started calling him a Muppet?
Yeah, that's the names came from that one over there. So we'll be able to see who's going to be the winner this year. Good news, he's not going to be on nomination this year. So that's a good thing for him.
I'm sure he'll be very...
So are you ready to get the warm-up show start?
Well, let's do it, Coach. Warm-up time.
All right, let's do it. Here he is back again for the second time in the Habs BRUNCH directly from Toronto. Our friend Michael Oles, Monday to Friday at the warm-up show. He's not going to do some prediction today, but he's going to give us some knowledge about the Montreal Canadiens. Welcome back, Mr. Enortap is in the house early in the morning.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, Marko. Good morning, Hockey Nation. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. I know I have big shoes to fill with Corinne's absence, but we'll try our best.
Yeah, just a little note there too, like thinking of Kevin, still a little bit under the weather. We're hoping you feel better soon and can't wait to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely right. A great comment, Mr. Marko, to mention this. So we wish the best for Karen. She'll be back in next 2 weeks. Next week we have another special guest. So we're going to let you know during the week. But that's what we got. This week we have an amazing, great subject. We have this fun thing. We have a big duel in our tap versus Marko. Honestly, we're going to be interesting to see that. 2 subjects, 2 rounds of 3 minutes. So let's start game right away, Mr. Marko. And the review weeks number 6. And after they have a great, perfect week last week, if I can recall it, 3-0. This week was different. They have 1-2-0 this week for the Montreal Canadiens. Did not start properly the right foot, but finished pretty good. This is the 3 score. New Jersey Devils 5-1. New Jersey 13th straight game. They are on fire right now. The Columbus Blue Jackets, they lost against them 6-4, 1-8-0. The last 9 games at the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're going to return there next week, by the way. And then the Montreal Canadiens finally, wow, what a game last night. They won, but of course, 5-4 and shootout. Nick Suzuki shut down the building with his goal on the shootout. And of course, we talk about Cole Caulfield. That was the introduction of the game, of the show today. Score at 1.9. Another sniper is 2 goals yesterday. 11 goals since the beginning of the season, and this continues for the first time. So I want to get your review of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. It's fun about the game. So let's start it with Marko.
Well, like you said, Coach, the Habs come into this week on, just on a roll and on a high. Everything's wonderful. Everybody, we were joking semi-joking, like playoffs last week, like we're in the playoffs and all that, and then wham, boom, just New Jersey Devils roll into town, and we all understand, what a true hockey, kind of like a structured hockey team looks like. And to be honest, like I think my biggest takeaway of this week is, I think honestly that Columbus game, which for sure, even Martin Saint Louis said it was definitely their worst game of the season, and I tend to agree. That and like that first period in Detroit kind of stick out to me as kind of the low points so far. I'm not sure what that Columbus game was about. Was it that they were kind of took them a little bit for granted and they were looking for their cookies kind of thing and got ran over? Or was it that, sometimes when you play a really good structured team and you get a bit of what you could call a correction, right? Is sometimes it kind of throws you off your game. It kind of destabilizes you and it takes a while for you to kind of like, it's almost kind of like you get knocked off balance. So I think like maybe even part of that Philly game, because I felt that Columbus game and those Philly games, even though again 6-4, 5-4, like there are lots of goals, in my humble opinion, I found them a little bit uglier to watch. Like, yes, there was a lot of goals, but they weren't like exciting games as much maybe as the weeks previous, because they were just ugly and like just not a lot of energy. Especially the Columbus game was kind of not fast paced, not lots of chances. So listen, a lot of good storylines this week still. Like the Habs are the Habs, right? Like they're I think with the goaltending, and we'll get into this, with some of the goaltending coming down to earth again, like we're starting to see kind of the true colors come through a bit more. So interesting week. New Jersey Devils, they really definitely kind of showed us kind of what a real hockey team looks like right now. Enortap, crazy week, right? What are your thoughts?
It's hard to follow that, Marco. You brought up some great points there. I think the record, the fact that they went 1-2, a bit surprising. I thought maybe they could have pulled off either 1-1 or 2-1 and 0, given the opposition with Columbus and Philadelphia. And the more problematic thing for me is if you look at all three games, they allowed a total of 15 goals, and that's starting to be a bit of a concern, both from the defensive end, which was doing much better earlier, and also from the goaltending perspective, because, wasn't it a week or two ago that we were raving about Monty and Allen and how well they were doing, and it's not that they're doing poorly now, but they've come down to earth a little bit, and I think that it goes part and parcel with the defense. And we're to expect this. I mean, this is part of the process. I think they have to really tighten up a little bit more in order to be, even though they've been competitive in these games. In the New Jersey game, there was no competition there. I think that New Jersey really overpowered them. I think they did the smart thing. They focused on that first line of Montreal, and they shut them down for the most part. I don't think they got any points in that game, and
Barely
that's
got
the
any shot.
key.
They barely got any
Yeah,
shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I think Coach and I had taken the over on Caulfield 2.5 shots on net, and we lost that.
Yeah.
So, is it a concern? I mean, they'll come around. They're young kids too, and they'll learn. And I think once the lines become a little bit more balanced in terms of the scoring, then it becomes more difficult for teams to just solely concentrate on that first line. So, yeah, some good things, some areas of concern, but next week's a new week.
Great comment, both of you. 9 periods during the week. They play only 4 good periods in my eyes. One against New Jersey, the first period. Two against Columbus. The score don't show exactly. They dominate Columbus at the second period, third period. 31 shot versus 18. for the last 40 minutes. Missed opportunities. Korpisalo was really solid between pipe. Vanecek stopped 3 opportunity against New Jersey. And I said they will beat New Jersey. I just think it played only one period. And the Flyer fifth. So just curious me this. I will put Montreal Canadiens as a NASCAR car. So the first game they have to go to the pit stop because there was some problem. They go to pit stop, go back on the race, and then again Columbus they got a flat tire, so you have to go back at the pit stop, and then Philadelphia they come back and they got to find a way to get a spare tire, and then they finally to get a W. So that's my race for the Montreal Canadiens this week. So pretty good resume for each one of you. And I think both of you take the same thing. Look, because you talk about the goaltender, the defenseman, everything like that. This is the first time Montreal on the differential are -6. They never been close to what they are. 9-8-1, still over 500, barely, but 6 in the division, and then 18 in the standing at this moment we talk about. So something could happen in the future, but right now they are. You're always looking for me. It's always the differential talk exactly what time the team you are. If you want to look about a good team, a bad team, there are 2 areas. The differential goal goal again, and the special team formula. I talked about my app video yesterday. If you know about those information, I'll give you a little bit what the team will look like in NHL area. So great review for both of you. But like we do, this is something we do every week now. And Marco bring that, and then I think it's a great point. Is who stood out whatsoever? Montreal is 1-2 0. Maybe a players pay a little bit more your attention.
Well, I think we talked about him last week, but to me, the most consistent player this whole week was Kirby Dach. So just continues to emerge. Again, Suzuki and Caulfield had moments this week where they weren't as engaged, and certainly there's some defensive zone coverage issues as well that led to some goals with that line. But I felt that at parts in the game where they were struggling, I felt, we've heard a lot of people say, okay, Kirby Dach is now performing because he's on the wing, he's with Caulfield and Suzuki. He can't drive a line, he can't carry a line by himself. He's never going to be a center. We've heard people say that, right? To me, at parts of these games, I felt like he was the one actually kind of carrying the line and actually kind of fighting for pucks, winning possession deep in the zone, winning battles, being able to chip pucks out in critical times out of the defensive zone. So listen, not just his, if you look at his numbers, he's almost at a point a game now, which is, I think, well above expectations. I think this summer, guys, when we were doing over under on Kirby Dach, we were thinking 35 to 40 points max. I think was kind of the range that we were looking at for him. And listen, I think that's if things continue the way that they are now, that's the floor, right? Like maybe we're talking like a minimally, like conservatively, a 50 or 60 point season for Dach. So just really, not just in terms of production, but just the way that he's carrying himself, his skating, his vision, his zone entries, and especially again the board play and the ability to kind of win pucks and do takeaways. So that's who stood out for me this week.
Yeah, you're right, Marco, and even his confidence level has really skyrocketed, and that's always a positive thing because that's what you need to build on. The points, once you're confident, the points will eventually come, especially if you have good line mates like he does. I think, again, not to beat a dead horse, but the young kids have impressed for sure. We saw yesterday both Suzuki and Caulfield, even in the shootout, looked very good. They had at least, I think Caulfield had 2 points, Suzuki had 2, maybe even 3 if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm getting it confused with the shootout. So obviously they stood out too as well. But I'm going to bring up somebody else that's quietly, done his work, and he always seems to be under the radar, and we're always ready to trade him. and I'm going to say Christian Dvorak. He goes out there. I think he's gelling very nicely with Gallagher now. Gallagher, I think, has picked up three or 4 points in the last 3 games. Dvorak himself he scored yesterday. I think he had an assist or two the night before against Columbus. So he's winning faceoffs. He's winning small battles in the corner. He finds himself at the right place. Gallagher, as we know, always heads in front of the net, and that's a positive because Dvorak makes sure that puck gets to him. So those two guys, Dvorak and Gallagher, have quietly made an impression on me.
That's great. So that absolutely right about Dvorak. 4 point in the last 5 games for Dvorak. And I just tried to give you his face-off is right now at 55.7 since the beginning of the season. So great point about this. But I'm going to give you another name here we didn't mention to you. Is this one? I'm going to see what he did yesterday. Kaden Cooley, guys.
Yeah.
What a performance again he did for the Montreal Canadiens. He continues to be the most consistency as a rookie defenseman since the beginning of the season. So I'm not talking only this week, but since the beginning of the season, I think Cooley continues. Whatever you put him against, Sidney Crosby or whatever who he play, he's always show up. He don't have a lot of bad games in the beginning of the season. So for me, it's consistency. And what a check he did against Scout Lawton yesterday about that. So great comment about Dvorak. I like this. I think the veteran, I think we did not mention, we could talk about that enough. I think that enough play his best week of the year this year, this week for him. I think he's more engaged. I'm telling you right now, he's flying on the ice. He did not maybe not produce, but I'm telling you right now, he's really flying. I'm really impressed by him. I don't know what happened to him, but really impressed about that. Josh Anderson about 2 goals and 3 games this week, and then the veteran step up a little bit more overall. So I think for say 1-2-0, I think it would be the real week. It should be 2-1-0 at the end of the day for them. So great players you mentioned about this. Kirby Doc, Christian Dvorak, Kaden Cooley for the Montreal Canadiens. But we have a couple of news around the Montreal Canadiens for the next subject. A couple of things we're going to review since the beginning of the week, last week, start Monday until this weekend. But first of all, I have a couple of movement in Montreal Canadiens roster. At some point, they announced Joel Armia. He was out a minimum a couple of days, maybe 1 week. It will be interesting what easy right now. Any update? He's still skating around. And then you have Jonathan Drouin, 4 to 6 weeks with an upper body injury. Is going to be out for those kind of weeks. And then at that moment, they called up Rempitlik for 1 game at Columbus Blue Jacket. Did not participate to the game, then returned to the Laval Rocket to play with them Friday night and Saturday, where they divide again the Cleveland Lumberjack at 1 game each. And then that's pretty much what happening with the roster is some kind of injuries about this. You have some kind of Cole Caulfield contract and maybe, of course, a trade bait. So you can maybe talk about this if you want to hear some rumors. So if you want to complete any other news, I don't see I have anything else. Or Emil Henneman returned to play in Sweden. Reactive, honestly. Reactivate to play now and ready to play. So they sent him back over there. A little bit surprised because it's a news with not much analytic or analyst by anybody or no really big comments for the Montreal Canadiens organization. I think they tried to go around. I don't know if some of you heard something about Jeff Gordon or can you talk about him or Martin St. Louis. I did not hear anything. So maybe you can...
Heineman? No, the only thing I saw is that he played his first game in the SHL yesterday. He played 14 minutes or whatever and had a couple shots. And so, good for him. Listen, he had a really impressive camp. So it's too bad that we didn't get a chance to really see him in game action in the exhibition season or early in the season, really, when things start to heat up a bit more. But I think, he left his calling card and, go back there and, let Kent Hughes do his thing and clear up some contracts here so that he has a spot maybe next year to come play. Speaking of Kent Hughes, that was, couple of interviews granted by Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon this week. Some interesting tidbits came out of those. So probably the biggest headline news was Jeff Gordon telling people to chill out. Cole Caulfield's going to stay here. Not a surprise, but I think we're all, what was interesting, he said it could be a week from now, could be 2 weeks from now, could be 2 months from now, but it sounds like conversation has started, at least with the contract talk. So, for anybody that's anxious about that, don't be. It's going to happen. The question, and we've debated it here several times, is what are they going to do? Is it going to be a bridge? Is it going to be long term? But we've talked about that quite a bit, so we won't go there. So I think overall, pretty quiet. There are a couple of rumors out there. We've heard Enortap. I don't know if you want to talk about some of those, but like a Carlson rumor. I don't know if I buy into that too much. And then some smoke around Josh Anderson again. Did you want to kind of give a roundup of some of the little things that are out there? Not that they're true, but just to keep everybody in the loop.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, as we know, Marco and Coach, these are just rumors that are thrown out there. Sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, but in most cases it tends to pan out because not because it doesn't have a basis, maybe, but it's just difficult to properly structure a deal nowadays in the NHL. And at this point, teams, unless they're trying to get out of a severe slump or an injury problem or two that they have, they're not going to rush to a trade until the trade deadline time. With Carlson, obviously, if they can deal that contract, and I'm talking about Erik Karlsson, if they can deal that contract away in San Jose, they'd be over the moon. It works towards trying to get rid of those hefty contracts that were given out towards the end of Wilson's last few days or years, actually. With Anderson, what I'm hearing is a possibility of a trade partner with LA. And what I'm hearing in exchange would have to be a good right-handed prospect on defense that is ready to play as of today. So I don't know exactly. I haven't had an opportunity to really go through the lineup there and who they have in their system and who they could be referring to. But that's the tidbit that I'm hearing with regards to Anderson. Again, I don't think they're in any real rush to get rid of Anderson. I think that they're just listening, and from what I hear, there's about 5 or 6 teams that have sort of kicked the tires with Montreal. So you have to do your due diligence as a GM and hear them out. And if it makes sense for where our team is going, then by all means, it's something that you have to try to make happen.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. So for Montreal, like the rumor that you're hearing is okay. So Karlsson makes 11.5 million. So and the only way they could trade him is by taking back or keeping at least half of that contract. So some people are saying, okay, if you trade Gallagher, that's it's 6.6 or whatever his contract is. It's kind of the same thing. You're trading problems, but for Montreal, that doesn't make sense. Like to your point, Enortap, right now, it's incessantly hard to make deals because look at the standings. Like there's so much parity. Like there's maybe only 1 or 2 teams that are really out of it right now. So why would people start kind of making these big moves? Like, or they don't feel like they necessarily need to do them yet because it's so tight, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
It's fun to talk about on Twitter as long as Twitter stays alive. Hopefully it does. But they're rumors. It's fun to talk about, but probably won't happen.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm the rumor with LA for Anderson was Matt Roy or Sean Walker.
Walker's a good prospect. I mean, I can see that.
25, Walker. Yeah.
But he's NHL ready, right?
Yeah, but I think there's other guys there like Spence. What's Grants, I think, is like another right-handed guy. I can't remember his name. Starts with a G. He was, I believe, a first-round pick, right-hand defenseman there. Obviously, you're not going to get Brett Clark, who's probably their best right-hand defenseman prospect. They
But
have
the other
Jersey.
defensemen you talk about, they are left defensemen.
No, no, no. They have like Spence is a right-handed defenseman. Grants, I think his name is a right-handed defenseman. Um, like I said, Clark is a right-handed defenseman.
Clark
Jersey's
is
a
right-handed.
right-handed defenseman. Yeah, so right now, 5 of their 6 defensemen are right-handed. It's like the opposite of what we have. They're playing on their
Yeah,
wrong side, but they're right-handed. So
they're one of the few teams.
you can see there's a good fit there. Like if there's one trading partner that makes sense, it's with LA. But unless it's Clark, because again, like what is Hughes looking for? He's looking for an elite offensive right-handed defenseman. So Spence is
Puck
an
moving.
offensive defenseman. Well, not even just puck moving, because we have puck moving defensemen. He wants an elite offensive defenseman, right-handed, to play on the power play. He said publicly that that's the one of the pieces that they're missing is an offensive defenseman. Now, because that's a different thing. A two-way defenseman is somebody, who can make a nice first pass and all. Like we have Harris, Gooley can make a nice first pass, but none of those guys can run a first unit power play, and that's really one of the missing pieces that they're looking at.
But
But
you're not
we'll
going
go
to
into.
get anything from what we have to get that kind of defenseman.
I agree.
Yeah,
Not well.
it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're looking at defensemen, one might say, well, look at all the rookies we have, and in the system there's still a lot. But I mean, we have to be realistic as well. As good as they've been showing what their talent level is, injuries come up, or they never quite make it to the NHL. Like, look at Norlander has struggled. Justin Barron has struggled. Now, I think it was Norlander that just got hit in the face with a puck, and we don't know the extent of his injury. Like some of these guys may never make their way back up, and we hope that somebody like MEILLEUR could come in at some point in 2 or 3 years and help out there. But you can never have enough defensemen. Where have we heard that before, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Let's move on, guys. We have already half of the show already done, and we did not get the duel yet. So let's move on, guys. We have 2 questions I have for you, and I think it's really interesting. Those questions. First of all, you just talked, guys, about concern about the Montreal Canadiens. For the first time, they faced a kind of adversity, and they prove it. That show again, Devils, Columbus, and the Flyers today this week. And what you've been most concerned? Is it the goaltender performance? Is it the rookie is decreasing? I think some of them starting to have some kind of problem right now. And then the mistake, the mental mistake, the awareness. Talk about TO turnover, the GVA gave away puck, the penalty per game they gave. Usually, yesterday was quiet, but again, Columbus and New Jersey Devil, they opened the door. If you remember the goal on power play, Jack Hughes, that can go the way. So, what are the most concern for you? And then we're going to start with Marco.
Yeah, Coach. I think we've been we've been warning fans and our friends here for the last several weeks that this is coming, right? Like the underlying numbers were showing a totally different story than the positive one that in terms of results, right? So you're right. The goaltending, Allen is now just slightly under 900 save percentage, and he's I think started last week like at 910. So not Allen kind of coming down to earth a little bit. Montembeault, who people were starting to, there's some buzz about, well, maybe he needs to start getting some more starts. He had probably his hardest game against Columbus. Wasn't terrible, but again, I look at all these things. Like I look at, okay, so the rookies are getting a bit more pressure. More giveaways. By the way, Gooley leads the NHL in giveaways. Like we were just talking about how Gooley is awesome, and he is. But he's in the wrong chair, right? Like he's, has the highest amount of giveaways in the entire NHL. Now that happens when you have the puck a lot. So Erik Karlsson, for example, in his good years, used to lead the NHL in giveaways. That's because he has the puck a lot. So it's not, it can be a misleading stat, but it's a thing. So I look all the things that you mentioned, like increased giveaways, just the overall eye test of how the rookies are looking. the goalies not holding the fort. To me, it's two things. So the level of play starting to elevate a little bit. I think it's going to still be a bit of a mirage over the next week because, as you said, we're kind of in a run right now where we're facing less difficult opponents, right? But in November, getting to American Thanksgiving, the level of play is going to increase that much more. So you're gonna. It's kind of like a stress test. If you ever seen that show Bar Rescue, where this guy goes into a bar and the bar is not working very well. He's okay. We need to do a stress test to see how good are your staff, how good are your processes, and all that. Well, this is what that is right now, right? So there's going to be a real stress test on the Montreal Canadiens. Once they get past these kind of weaker opponents, and the level of play goes up. So the key thing for me to look at is how are they going to continue to improve? Because again, that's all about development, right? So this is going to be a new phase of development. They might struggle more in terms of results, but are we going to see continued improvement with those young players and existing players? Because the whole management team has talked about we're here to develop not just our young players, but even our older players like Gallagher and Anderson. We're also developing them. We're showing them new ways to play. So will we continue to be able to develop even as the level of play goes higher, and maybe the results start to falter a little bit because the opponents and the opposition will be a bit harder?
I just want to open the door here. He's number one with David Pastrnak, Kisharov, Leon Tresolo, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid.
That was maybe before. I read that before yesterday's game.
No, but I'm talking about the top 10 with the most giveaway puck. All right. And the most per 60 minutes. That's really more important things and not only giveaway puck. It's more like per 60 minutes. He is the number one in NHL is right now David Pastrnak. So it's a statistic for me. I never pay too much attention to giveaway puck because it's not really relate too much on the players.
No, absolutely. And I think Marco hit on it when he said that a lot of it has to do with the ice time that you log. And obviously, the more you have the puck, the more the opportunities for you to cough up the puck. If you're only on the ice for 8-9 minutes, chances are you're not going to turn it over too many times unless you're not an NHL caliber player. Coach, I would say, you know what, in terms of the goaltenders, I think they are who they are. I think that they were performing a little bit above their heads over the previous weeks. What I'm learning for sure is, as much as I like Allen, he is not necessarily a number one goaltender. He's a solid number two goaltender that perhaps shouldn't be logging more than about 35 games a year. And given that, he's very solid and superb in net. Montalbo is also unfortunately a number two, and he's still in the process of developing. The rookies decreasing, goes part and parcel with the fact that we've been losing a few more games lately. I wouldn't worry too much about that. That's part of the process of learning and developing. For me, the concern would have to be the mistakes. And it's one thing if the mistakes are different all the time, but if you see the same mistake over and over and over happening and you're not learning from it, and I don't know if there's any connection with this because I haven't had an opportunity to look it up, but we saw that Hoffman pretty much was benched the whole third period yesterday. I don't know if it was...
Yeah, he was
it an injury? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if it was that or perhaps Martin St. Louis trying to send a message. And he said he would do that fairly to everybody if they weren't learning from their mistakes.
The rumor the rumor in the chat yesterday was it was bench, and then someone was said we don't know if it was confirmed or it was injury. So Marco, you just mentioned was injury.
Yeah, it's a lower body injury, and the reason that he was on the bench is that he felt that if there was a power play, he could still go out and help. If there was a power play, that's why he came back on the bench. So,
or he can go to the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know
That's
if you'd
a
want
good
him there
point.
because then, like, if there's a breakaway, like, I don't know if I
Yeah.
would put him to go serve a penalty if he
He's
can't
really
score.
good at penalty shot.
That's true.
Sorry, not that you can finishing.
No. That's pretty much it. My biggest concern is with the mistakes and just trying to minimize that. You're not going to eliminate them, obviously, because it's all a development process, especially with the young squad that we have. But you can definitely minimize the types of mistakes that you're making and try not to repeat them as often as I'm starting to see in some cases, especially
Great
the
point.
risk taking. That's
Great.
that's hard. The risk taking is
Oh
it
man,
takes years to practice when to jump into the play at the right time. It takes months to know your teammates, and they have to anticipate when you're going to be doing that. And it's not an easy process. There has to be a little.
Enortap,
That's why
you're gonna struggle.
The Sedin brothers did it so well because they could read each other's minds.
You're gonna struggle under this Martin St. Louis because they're gonna take risks, right? Like, it's that's gonna be their style of play.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
It,
yeah. So
it's really funny you talk about this because I'm working on a video right now. Like this week, uh, again the Devils. It's stupid, like not stupid. I'm sorry. It's a situation right now. I think it was Jordan Harris battle for the puck to the board. Cole Caulfield, like we call this in our case called this side. I always screaming at the player this side, this side, this side. So the this side, you want the players to always be below of the puck, like on the defensive zone, like on the defensive side, and not to be over. So that situation, it's really it's happened twice, but one was Cole Caulfield. And they have a battle there. Cole Caulfield cheat a little bit. You're going to laugh at me. 3 feet up on ready to go out on the transition, right? And
yeah,
the Devils get out of Jordan Harris, and then it turned around to be a 2 versus 1 because the guy to the
yeah,
ball to at the goal line come back up, pass to him, he create a 2-1, and Jack Hughes score on the other side. If Cole Caulfield was only 3 feet lower, it's called the D side, but now you intercept the puck right away with it. At least it become a 2 versus 2. So it's the details like this. And when you talk about mistake, it's like they try to cheat a little bit. It's happened on the neutral
yes,
zone against the
yes,
Devils, I believe, or Columbus. I think it was the Devils. And again, another time where they cheat. So they try to go on the offensive side and not thinking, oh, wait a minute, we have to go back on defensive first. And those kind of mistakes, they see a little bit more than the beginning of the season. So I wish I have that clip I can show to you. Unfortunately, I don't have, but it's a
no,
great
I
point.
know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Like, another word for it is they call it poke and hope, right? So when you're under the puck and then you poke and you hope that you're gonna poke it past them, and then you exit the zone, but you don't have possession yet, right? Like, so those are examples of like
Another
not being.
mistake they make an example, right? I think it was a goal against Jake Allen, one of the defensemen. I can't remember who he was. So he didn't use his stick on this on the. We always said to the player, put your stick to the stick, right?
hmm
Because when you put your stick against the stick, the puck can go up left and right on the net behind, right? But what happening? He was hold the stick behind a little bit too far from the player, so the player have a time to they have a shot, he score a goal. Those details of the game we don't see this right during the game. The people, most of the fans hockey don't follow those stuff. But when you coach or you really deep in on the game, but those important situations make a big fun at the end when you're losing 4-3 or by one goal, everything like that. So I
Yeah,
just want to share
and
it
I
with
think
you.
that's what we meant, Coach. Like earlier when we were reviewing the week, and we said, you know, playing New Jersey, it revealed what it's like to play a real hockey team. Like, that's what New Jersey does, right? Like, their 5-on-5 underlying numbers during the streak are almost unprecedented, and they do all those things. They stay above the puck. They're attacking they're attacking all across the ice in different zones. Just they're doing all the little things right, and people roll their eyes when, like, all the little things right. They just want to talk about the exciting things, but that's how you win games. And you're right, like, those things are starting to slip away a little bit. That's a bit concerning. It's
Yeah,
not the
absolutely right.
mistakes. Like, mistakes are going to happen, but it's the overall engagement with that process.
By the way, the takeaway puck, the number one is Jacob Slavin. So I just want to mention this. I don't know, but I just want to mention this. I focus on this is a trick question because I have some comments after that. I want to interesting about this. We still behind, so we have 15 minutes, so we'll be fine for the duel for sure. I'm controlling the time all the time, so I love it. Focus on winning culture, development, on thinking about like finish at the bottom. So one of you going to start. Let's go. We're going to always we do with Marco and then in our tab going to set up. You can be agree or disagree, and maybe it's the warm up for you in our Mr. in our tab for the duel anyway.
So sorry, am I going first?
Yeah, Marco.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, out of these three, there's no question that tanking is not on the list for like if you've read or listened to anybody in the organization actually listen to what they're saying, it's not happening. And I agree. Like from all summer, guys, even in training camp when they're 0-8 during the exhibition games, I was like, guys, yes, okay, it's a season of development. They keep saying that, but you need some positive things to happen to develop a winning culture, or else you're going to be the Buffalo Sabres. Like, look at the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres are Buffalo sabering again. Even like they fooled us all again. Okay, no, this year is really going to be the year, but it takes so
No
much
goalie.
energy. Yeah, but also like, is it something to do with just losing culture too, right? Like it just when you develop that losing culture, it takes a lot of things to happen and a long time to like look at the Oilers are just hopefully maybe starting to evolve out of that losing culture that was there after they had, Yakupov and Taylor Hall and Nugent Hopkins. Like, so I think the winning culture is critical. If you listen to Gordon and Hughes, they're clearly saying that, you know what, like it is what it is. We're, the development and building a winning culture is going to take us much further than, of course we want to add elite players at the draft. Of course we do. And we'll do everything that we can to do that. But they're prioritizing winning culture above everything. For sure.
And Mr. Tap.
Yeah, definitely. I would say to those three, yes, yes, and yes, rather than yes, yes, and no. And uh, we'll start with the winning culture. I think that's their primary concern. They want an environment where the kids and the veterans as well, they love to come to practice. They love to play in the game. They're starting to feel a camaraderie amongst each other, and that sort of builds, and that's definitely what you want. Development wise, well, that happens within that infrastructure, I believe. So it sort of goes hand in hand with it. And the reason why I'll say yes to tanking, it's not because I disagree with what Marco said, because it's true. You're not going out there to purposely lose games. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen here in Montreal, and you can bank on it, they'll never, ever admit to it. But come trade deadline time, there's some areas of concern within the team that they've seen for close to, I'd say, 60% of the games, and last year as well, that they're going to need to correct in order to make that next step and continue with the winning culture. And that is, they're going to have to get rid of some contracts that are not good. There,
Yeah.
if there's any unhappy campers. And so, in doing so at trade deadline time, and let's say you get rid of a couple of forwards that were scoring for you. You get rid of a Dvorak who was winning faceoffs for you and getting points. You get rid of, perhaps one of your goalies for whatever reason because you got a great offer. In terms of, you are organically tanking, and they're okay with that because their objective this year was not necessarily to make the playoffs and win the Stanley Cup. I know we all say that. That's good lip service because I think every team every year that should be their primary goal. Yes, we're going to win the cup this year. If it's not, then you need to investigate internally what's going on. But the realism behind it is the fact that there's always gaps that you can minimize. There's areas of concern on every team, and Montreal is not exempt from that. And
Mm.
in taking care of those problems, you are in invariably organically tanking, and we'll see that. You will see them right now. They're what overall? 18th, we said,
15.
or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're not going to stay there, and we know that.
No, but so Enortap, like, so we're not saying that they're going to, acquire players to make a run here, right? But to me, tanking is a totally different, reality of compared to liquidating assets to continue to build, kind of like younger assets. That's not tanking. Tanking is, deliberately, kind of like manipulating your roster so that you can, finish lower in the standings. I would remember
Yeah,
that old saying. I forget when it was, but somebody said to I think it was Ducharme or to Claude Julien. Oh yeah, they were saying maybe Weber should take a couple of days off because he's injured or whatever. Like, well, if you want to go tell Weber to take a couple of days off, let me know how it goes. Well, same
yeah,
thing goes
exactly.
to going to Martin Saint Louis and even hinting to tanking. Good
Well,
luck.
Toronto did it, Marco. When they got Austin Matthews, that's what they did.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Tanking Toronto. They
Yeah, yeah,
completely bring everybody out.
sure.
GVR, Phil Kessel, he can go, and then they
Yeah,
not play the best of. They put
there's
injury players, and they want to
yeah,
be sure they get Austin
for
Matthews.
sure.
That was really
Yeah,
the purpose of
yeah.
that one over
that's the
there.
tank. I agree. That's
When
100%. That's what a tank is.
And when we got Guy Lafleur, it was the same thing. There was a lot
Yeah,
of juxtapositioning
sure.
right to the
Yeah,
last week of the year. But I'm not even suggesting it's that flagrant. I'm just saying there's little areas that people will not necessarily investigate. For example, who goes on the IR this week? Oh, I have an upper body injury. When it comes
no.
close, and let's say you're say at your 20th, and you're going to say, okay, in this last week, does it help me to get 6 points by going out there and, hey, the winning culture, let's go out there and win these 3 games? Or would it be better suited? We'll compete, yes, but at the end of the day, if we give the other team the advantage and we finish 26th instead of 20th, you're in
Yeah,
the
but
long
no,
run,
you talk
you're
about
doing a
thinking about the
greater
last week of
benefit
the
to the team.
season. Well, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the trade deadline. Montreal left,
Yeah.
but not this year. You're not going to see Montreal does this year.
Well, they're going to get rid of some players.
Yeah,
and
of
and
course. Like,
by virtue of that alone, you're gonna have to bring up some other kids or players maybe that
Yeah,
you're
but you're
getting
not
in
going to
return.
trade
But
the piece asset like they did last year, the Toffoli, the Chariot, because they have contract. I don't see me leaving like Rack, Anderson, and Munson. You're going to leave the UFA, the Monahan, the Drouin, the Dadanov, and Byron if you want to add them. But I don't see anything like that like last season they did, in my
but what
opinion.
it really comes down to, guys, is this though: is what is the reasoning behind the trades? If and this is what I truly believe,
yes,
the Habs will look okay. So if we're going to trade someone, it's because we think it's in the long term best interest of the organization, not in the short term
yes,
interest of losing games. And to me, that's the difference between managing your organization in the direction that you want, which is kind of a rebuild, which is a rebuild. We all know that. But tanking is deliberately trading or making roster moves that will
yeah,
directly impact your ability to compete. Those are two very, very different
yeah,
things.
yeah.
So,
And I agree if that's the definition you're using. All I'm just
yeah,
saying is in achieving those goals, uh, invariably you are organically tanking. Like
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe it shouldn't be called that because it gives a different uh, like
Connotation.
envisionment, yeah, connotation to it. But that's what's happening, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good or bad thing, but in Montreal's case, especially this year, if you can find yourself in the bottom 5 or 6, you're going to get a great franchise player, I think.
So the purpose of this question was not about thinking; it was about winning culture and development in my eyes. So here's the point: do you believe they're really winning culture or not? So I will give you the reason I bring to you guys because Enortap yesterday put on the chat Sarkowski does not play another 2 hours. So if I have something for you yesterday, Sarkowski 9 minutes, Peseta
Mm-hmm.
6 minutes, a four
Mm-hmm.
line, and then Hoffman played 10 minutes. The four line did not play yesterday. And then if you go defenseman, Jakai 13 minutes and Kovacevic 14 minutes. So they're really focusing on winning game. They're not winning to try to developing too much at some point. If they have a chance to win the game, they want to win the game. That's that was the purpose behind that. The winning culture, that's really the number one of what they try to accomplish is try to win, 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 win.
No, no, no.
But I think those are
I would disagree. Sorry, just going back to that, coach. What I would say is when Ducharme was in charge, he insistently kept playing his 3 to 6 best players constantly, constantly, constantly. Yes, he wanted to win. Maybe it was to save his own job. Maybe it was for the purposes of the team or both. But he wasn't doing the right thing, right? For the organization. You cannot constantly just for the sake of saying I want to win tonight, I'm going to play my top 3, 4 players and
But
your
that's what
top
you
2
do
or
all the
3
time.
defensemen.
Martin Saint Louis.
No, no, no. If you look over the last few games,
Suzuki,
the
24 minutes.
defensemen,
24
the
minutes yesterday.
defensemen.
Cole Caulfield, 22 minutes yesterday. And Kirby Dak, 21 minutes.
Yeah, you're talking
Here,
about
guys.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The
look
only
at-
game
look
you
at
get, the minute you talk about is against New Jersey Devils. That's
but
it.
look at
That's the
also
only game they
their
played really
average.
split about that. The Jagai play about 19 minutes. But overall, you can see that most of the time he stopped 6 minutes all the way about 18, 19, 20, 22, 23 minutes. So
But guys, this is the key here. This is the key. So the winning culture and the development, I think I don't agree, coach, that it's all winning culture and that they're giving a backseat to development, because the reason that they're not giving those guys those minutes like Slavkovsky, it's pretty clear. They want to progressively give him more as they think that he's willing or able to handle it, and B, like we've talked about before, it's a locker room kind of political thing, right? Like you can't give more to someone until he earns it too, right? So to me, it's not necessarily that they're prioritizing winning over development, but both are working in unison. And if you
Yeah.
look at the minutes yesterday, it's not really a fair picture because again, Hoffman was injured. The one thing that I'll say, I was a little bit surprised. If you saw what they did in the third period, they were doing a rotation, playing with the third line to take Hoffman's spot. And at first, they started with Slavkovsky, which was interesting. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, so Hoffman's not playing. Here we go. This is Slav's chance to really kind of play on the third line, and everybody's excited to see what's going to happen. Well, wait a minute. Slav wasn't really having his greatest game yesterday. So what did they do? He put on Anderson with those guys. He double shifted Anderson. And then, you know what? He finished the game with Evans double shifting on that line on the wing, playing with Gallagher and Dvorak, right? So to me, yes, he was prioritizing Evans playing up there. Maybe he saw something in Evans' game last night that he thought he was going, but Slavkovsky wasn't, right? So it's interesting. I don't think they're prioritizing winning over development, but Martin Saint Louis, that's one thing you can talk about is he's still learning how to do bench management in the middle of a game too, right? Really understanding which players are going and which aren't. But it's an interesting question. I think winning culture and development, they go hand in hand. They're going to conflict sometimes, but overall, I don't think they're far off.
But again, if you don't want to win, why do you play Madison 24 minutes yesterday and David Savard 24 minutes? Why not to play Jakai 17, 18 minutes? Why not to play Savkowski on the third line or third period to play 14, 15? They don't really care about winning. I'm telling you right now, all the action they do, Martin Saint Louis try to win the game.
Yeah.
Everything he do, he try to win the game. They will try to do everything to win that W every single night.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's what they're focusing on. And then the development come with that winning. Because if you want to only develop and not really care about, like you said, Enortap tanking, let's play Slavkovsky 16 minutes per game. Why you play on the 4 line? Why you put Jacka? Why not play on the first line? Why not to show them more time on the ice? But it's not.
because
They're
it's
really focusing on winning culture because
but
they
because
I
part
really
of
think
the
believe when they win.
I think
because
like
part of, go ahead, Enortap. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say when you think about it though, coach, like any good coach will ride, especially in the third period, they'll ride the hot hand in the sake of trying to win the game. Had this been 5-1 Philadelphia, you would not have seen these ice time. And then still, if you look at it, I mean, you talk about Madison and Savard, but Gouli had the same kind of minutes, right? And he's a young prospect. But why did he get it? Because to go back to what Marco was saying, he's shown that he deserves it. And
Yeah,
so
but
he's
yesterday
getting that
only
ice
18
time.
minutes is the number 4 defenseman yesterday.
But
Now why?
not
Because
Gouli.
now you have
Gouli
Madison.
had
You have
23 minutes,
Madison now. You have
coach.
more veteran inside the team.
Yes, yes, but Gouli had 23 minutes. That's quite a bit. Harris, I think, was around 17. So those are significant numbers for a defenseman, and that's because they earned that time and they were doing the right things out there. I mean, Anderson didn't get that kind of time. I didn't think he had a particularly good game. He played, I think, 13 minutes.
Anderson played
Um,
15 minutes yesterday. Gallagher for the first time Gallagher played 16 minutes yesterday.
Gallagher 15 and a half. Yeah, yeah.
Usually he played 13 minutes per
But
game.
but Anderson only played 13, right?
Now 15.
Like he oh well,
It's not
okay.
enough play 13 minutes yesterday.
Okay.
And
All right.
Evans for the first time played 15 minutes, by the way. So
Yeah,
anyway, we
yeah.
have to go to duel. I apologize, but we are behind, so we have to move on, guys, for the duel because we just hit the 1 hour the show already, ladies and gentlemen. So let's move on for the duel between Enortap and of course today Marco Larrabee are right now face to face for a challenge of 2 rounds, 3 minutes each. They are ready to rock and roll, and after he's going to be on the red corner, Marco on the blue corner. And you guys in the chat, we go to decide who is going to win tonight with Marco Larrabee and, of course, Enortap and the house tonight for the duel between both. The first question of the night, ladies and gentlemen, is this part over there. Which team should add model the rebuild on? New Jersey, Detroit, Ottawa, Rangers. Here we go. Who's going to jab first?
I,
You
I guess I
you
could
go
go
ahead,
first.
Enortap. And by the
Yeah.
way, Coach, this time put the poll up at after we've done our debate, not before, because we have to try to convince the people in the
It was a warm up. You did not know what happened. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
a warm up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead,
um
Enortap.
well, let me take the politically correct way out of this one first by saying that no team should rebuild upon any other team's models. They should cater it to their own talent, number one, and that's the way it should go. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to take probably the most obvious answer, at least I think, and that would be the Rangers. And the reason why I think the Rangers is because of who our GM is and where he's come from. He's been very clear over the last year and a half in terms of what approach he was going to take, both him and Hughes. He said that obviously development was a big part of it. Drafting was a huge part of it, and so far we've seen that. They're fortunate enough that they did have a couple of good prospects already in the system when they came over, so that helps the process. And come trade deadline time, they're working their way towards trying to acquire more assets that they can either develop themselves or at some point, if they want to, because they see that the process is going well, and Gorton has mentioned this, they will accelerate the process a little bit, and they'll do what they kind of did in New York when they picked up Fox and Panarin as free agents. So wouldn't it be nice if you had like a glut of defensemen, 8 or 9 of them that are all pretty much doing well? If you can package 2 nice young defensemen and another prospect and go get the best free agent out there that fits into their system. So for me, I think the Rangers is the model that they're following. Also because there's that familiarity with what Gordon's done, and he knows it works.
Great point of view. Before you put an uppercut, Mr. Marco, the story of Jeff Gordon, he struggled to pick a player between 5 to 15 and the draft.
Yeah.
Solid, really good between 20 to 32. There's been a story about that one over there. And I just want to give you something. Leon Anderson did not do well. Grazov did not do well. You can compare Capo Caco. Capo Caco is not a star like he's supposed to be. Lafreniere, he did not reach that kind of level. But look about what he got. 19, Brendan Schneider. You talk about 22, Kadri Miller. 28, Nils Lundqvist. 21, Philippe Chedil. So I want to give you an open door over there. Not say Marco, Enortap, you wrong.
No,
I just give you the
no.
story about.
That's a very good point, Coach. But the only caveat to that, I would say, is he was intelligent enough to bring in somebody like Hughes, who is immersed with all the players pretty much in the league.
I just want to show you what he did over there. Yeah. All right,
so
Marco,
hopefully he doesn't repeat
uppercut
those
with a
mistakes.
jab, mix both together, left and right.
Well, it feels like I'm fighting two people now, but flailing around here like coach is jumping in, like dear God. Well, listen, Enortap, it doesn't surprise me that you took the easy one to try to defend, but that's okay. I'll take the harder one. So remember, yes, the Rangers, everything. So you kind of actually made my point for me as you were explaining your reasoning. You see, the thing is, yeah, sure, it would be nice to be able to acquire a Panarin, a Fox, but those probably aren't going to happen, right? Like, just so that everybody remembers, Fox was kind of gifted to the New York Rangers. He was a restricted free agent that could have signed anywhere in the league, and the only place he wanted to play was the Rangers. So Gordon kind of got lucky on that. Very, very lucky. And then Panarin, well, again, that was a New York Rangers thing. Like, he only really wanted to play for the Rangers. And then the third piece of this rebuild is they also happened to just find Shesterkin, who is one of the best goalies in the world right now. So I don't know if I would model. I guess I agree with you that you can't 100% model it exactly like another team because there's different things happening. But I wouldn't model it around the Rangers because there's too many things that you can't control there, right? There's too many lucky things that happen there in order for me to really look at it as a model. So to me, I turn my attention to arguably the best general manager in the league right now, arguably Steve Yzerman, and what he's doing in Detroit right now. So what I like about Detroit's rebuild, it's everything that they can control. So their draft picks, they're really kind of going out and getting the key building blocks for a contender. And the thing with Detroit is that they've shown that they haven't even been lucky in the draft. Like, they've lost lotteries and have still come out with arguably one of the best players, like Seider. Like, remember, they lost that lottery and then ended up picking Seider well above, way earlier than people thought that they should have. But what I like about something that we don't talk enough about Montreal's rebuild, what I really like about Detroit's rebuild is Sebastian Cossa. They have a foundational, potentially elite goaltender that they've drafted. Now, again, could we be lucky enough to have our professional scouts find a hidden gem somewhere in Belarus or something? Maybe, but I wouldn't bet the farm on it. So for that reason, I find that the Detroit model, which, again, like, kind of to the point that you said, like, they've chosen to not accelerate it necessarily, but they're watering their garden, right? Like, so they see these young kids are coming and they've sprinkled in just a couple of veterans just to kind of continue to kind of like make the soil rich and allow these rookies to grow. So again, we haven't, like, it's easy to say the Rangers because they made it to the semifinals last year, but I think, I don't know if that's easy to replicate. I think it's just happenstance that they were able to kind of get there.
At the first, I put Enortap in the corner. I talk about Jeff Gordon. Now I'm going to put Mr. Marco in the corner. First of all, Adam Fox got traded for the Carolina Hurricanes for the second round pick. on that one. And then just again, it was not signed as a free agent. He was drafted by the Rangers, a 4 overall pick, 4 round at 118 overall. About this, two things: Ranger is quicker, Detroit is a longer. All depends about what you go on that one over there. So that's a great matchup about this one there. For me, if I have the pick, I would go with New Jersey because I think they use 3 years to pick up about 5 great first round pick. That's how they build, and they have the prospect guys. You talk about number one. They don't have yet Alexandre Oath. They don't have Macad Goodin as over there. They have another prospect, Stillman. I believe it's Stillman. His last name is not part of those and the team right now. So they build with bank of the first round, and they was lucky in the lottery, by the way, because they go back to back first round with Jack Hughes and Nico Urshire. That's help versus Detroit. They was not lucky. Marco, Detroit was about that one over there. We still Bass now 70 minutes. Do you want to go round number 2 quick, or we shut down?
Why don't we save that duel for next week, Coach? Like it's not time sensitive, right? Why don't we save that one?
Sound good to me. That's not a problem. We're going to resume about the quickly here what
Marco's
we have.
tanking.
About this one over there, of course, and I just want to be sure I don't make any mistake right there. Is the preview weeks number 7 is coming for 3 games for the Montreal Canadiens this week. They're going to play a back-to-back game Tuesday against the Buffalo Sabre at the Bell Center. Then they take the suitcase and they go traveling to the Columbus Blue Jacket for the second game back-to-back and 2 weeks. And 1 week, honestly. And then they play Friday at the Chicago United Center. Again, the ex-defenseman called for the Montreal Canadiens, Luke Richardson. 3 teams are not in the playoff right now. 3 teams are at the bottom of their division at this moment. 3 teams with Montreal. We have to figure out about this. We expect Montembeault at some point to be between the pipe for Montreal Canadiens. And they have no game Saturday for the Montreal Canadiens. They are returning only following Tuesday. Again, the San Jose Sharks at the Bell Center. This complete, guys, a 6-game of, again, the lower standing team. And before they starting to play again the best team in NHL. So I just want to share with you about this. Like we do at the time of the preview 7, honestly, every week. We talk about your prediction of the weeks. Unfortunately, we never take a note of your prediction. We never know who win the following weeks about that. All win every week anyway. So, Marco, you're going to figure out what it will be the week for the Montreal this week.
Yeah. Well, for the record, I've been perfect every week so far. You can't disprove it right now. So happy about my record so far. So I don't imagine.
Who win the World Cup soccer, by the way?
World Cup, I'll say Germany.
Germany. All right, let me take a note about that one there. Got it.
Germany, yeah. And invest all of your money in Bitcoin. That's also a good prediction.
All right.
Yeah. So
they may be called for DX.
Yeah, exactly. Bad prediction. So this week again, like you're right, like the competition, in theory should be doable for the Habs, but it's in Columbus or is it in Montreal?
Columbus.
Okay, then for sure they're not going to win that. I think half the team will be traumatized by the cannon noises still. So I'll go with Columbus on that one. Columbus is just a feisty, in-your-face kind of team. They're undermanned, and so I think I haven't seen anything from Montreal yet that they can really, kind of play against those really structured, kind of in-your-face teams. So Columbus is a tough task for them, unless Korpisalo really, you're right, kept him in, and he hasn't really been that good. So unless Korpisalo, if he plays the same as last time, I think Columbus will take that. For Buffalo, I think they're hungry. Like I think they just lost against Toronto last night. They're definitely Buffaloing like the last couple of years. So I'm going to go Buffalo on this one because I think they're going to be hungry. So I think Luke Richardson's going to kind of really motivate Chicago. I'm going to go 0-3, guys. 0-3 this week.
Buffalo lost the last 8 games.
8 games. Yeah, they're going to be hungry.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you something surprise for Buffalo. The differential is -4.
Yeah,
It's
same
not
as Montreal.
surprising. It's not surprising.
Yeah.
Who has the most goal between Toronto and Montreal? Go for.
Toronto. Sorry, Montreal.
They are equal,
Toronto,
Yeah, Montreal.
57, but Toronto have one more game to play already. So Montreal
One
have a
game in
little bit
hand.
more goal again versus Toronto. It's pretty amazing when you compare about that. I'm sorry, Enortap, I cut you again.
What's the Leafs differential? Plus minus?
+6.
+6. Not good enough for a team like that. You know what? This is tough. I think Buffalo's in a bit of a you know a bit of a turmoil there in the last eight games or so, but they got size and they got some forwards that are going to make it very tough on Montreal. So I suspect Buffalo will probably win that game. The Columbus one, I think Montreal's sort of determined, and they were a bit embarrassed, even though they outplayed Columbus, that they might just rebound from that one there. So I'll take Montreal to beat Columbus. And the Chicago game, is that in Montreal?
No.
It's in Chicago. I'll go with a victory there. I know Richardson will have his squad up for the game, but I still think the talent is very thin there, and they're having some goaltending injury problems. So I'll go Montreal. So 2-1, Montreal.
All right, sound good. 2-0-1 for Montreal Canadiens this week. They don't lose
So
any
much for
game
the
this
tank.
week.
So much for the
That's the
tank like
kind.
that.
It's funny because that's the kind of team Montreal can compete.
Too early.
So 2-0-1 this week, and I will get, and again watch again another big week of Nick Zuski, Caulfield, and Kirby Doc for this week over there. I wouldn't be surprised, and then hopefully they can bring Carl Hoffman is out for the week, example, and they can bring Rip Pentlick, and then Sakoski can play on the third line. That would be my not my prediction, but the week for me, that'd be great if we can do that. So that's complete, guys. Our longest show of this of the app Brown so far. So it's pretty good about this one there. Of course, because all the Enortap. If not him, we usually take a little bit less and longer. But he talked too much, so that's the reason we get Marco over time today. So, but we appreciate Mr. Enortap. Always a pleasure having you aboard. You bring so much great nuggets on the show. Before we leave, maybe ask Marco if you have anything you want to add before we leave the building for one more time.
No, we just really want to thank everybody for joining us for another Habs Brunch. Please hit like. Please, give us a comment below. Let us know kind of what you thought about the show. We read every comment. We love the comments, and we love having a conversation with you. And even more importantly, guys, share, please. Any hockey fans that you have that you know would enjoy watching the show, let them know about Hockey Nation Live. It really would help us out. We love you all. Thank you very much. Enjoy the World Cup. Germany all the way.
And look like Germany won the World Cup in our tap. So we don't have to pick any of the
That's it. We don't have to do it Monday night.
Have an amazing great week today. And again, happy Thanksgiving for all the people in USA Thursday. Of course, we wish you an amazing great week today. Can we see you next Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time for another App Brunch, your Sunday rendezvous.
Good night, everyone.